Yeah.
What?
Could. Hey. How's everybody doing? Happy Friday. This is Tony. And Dan the man. So just getting up the studio, getting everything ready. I hope everybody's having a good Friday. Uh, we're up here looking over the Yakima Valley as we're up here on the 9th level. I don't know why I keep on forgetting the name of this dang building.
Larson,
there we go. Larson building, 9th floor, overlooking the Yakima Valley. It is actually beautiful. I can see the Sela right from here. If I turn or look right behind Dan there, I can see the freeway. And then we have the other windows. We can see north. So it's pretty easy. See all the west. We're in a good location here. It's beautiful.
Tony, why don't you talk into your microphone? It works better that way.
How about that?
So what's going on,
now
man?
People can hear it. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. This is
Good,
exciting.
good.
I'm glad to be here doing this with you today.
Yeah, this is a good introduction, right?
Yeah.
Get things going.
For those that are watching, this is a complete test right now. So we're trying to get
Yeah.
the marbles and all the bugs worked out of the gear and the system.
Yeah, this isn't a production piece right now. So if you hear all the bloopers and the blunders, good.
So Tony, we're obviously going to be doing a bunch of things. And I think you said one of the things was you weren't sure if people knew exactly what we were doing. They knew we had a podcast studio, but they're like, well, what are they going to be doing with this podcast studio?
Correct. So what they're wanting, everybody thinks that it's just going to be like you and I, or you and the guest, or I and the guest, and we're just going to do a podcast and people can just sit there and listen. But that isn't all that we are going to offer here. Just as where people have the opportunity to actually start their own podcast, their own video cast. And you ask why? Because, and you can have anybody who has a hobby, a business, a desire to actually want to start their own podcast and come up here. And we have a full-fledged studio, as you can see right now.
Yeah, it could potentially be a lot of fun for the right person that wants to get in here and they want to. It's not just people that want to start a podcast, because I'm from Florida. So for those that are wondering, I moved here from Florida 2 weeks ago, and I've been doing this for a few years now in the studio setting. And it's not just for people that want to start a brand new podcast. It could also be for somebody that's running their podcast out of their house. They want to take it to the next level. But we also want to interview people that don't necessarily want to start a podcast, people that have amazing stories, overcome adversity, artists, entrepreneurs, all kinds of interesting
stories. There you go, backgrounds. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we want to hear from the community. We want to hear stories, storylines. Just like on Talk Yakima, we go there. Everybody goes to Talk Yakima. We can have a community base there and get some ideas and feedback from our local community. I mean, that's what it is, to help us come up with storylines and what's in the news. You have politics. You have, like we brought up, coming up with some scary stories. Superstitions of Yakima. Let's go out there and do a podcast on locations of that as well.
I'm looking forward also to doing things like we were talking about earlier. Like I love food. I love food. I love to drink. I'm not like an alcoholic. I'm pretty sure every alcoholic says they're not an alcoholic.
Right?
I'm not an alcoholic. But I think it'd be cool to start something like Yakima Eats.
Yeah.
And the viewers, people that watch, because you've got a decent following in Talk Yakima. You've got 2,000 members in there right now. We've got 4 people watching. If anybody wants to say hi, please say hi. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And I'll pin your comment. But the viewers, that's where we can kind of get our feedback from. I don't know any of the places around here, what's good food, what's bad food. So I would like, some of the people who live here in the local area to kind of give us an idea of what restaurants they like, or what restaurants maybe they've been wanting to try. And we could go in there, we could bring some of the camera gear, we could interview them. Then we could bring them into the studio. And during the live stream, when we start talking about their food, we could jump to kind of like, what's that guy? Who's the guy that's got it on the Food Network?
Guy Ferrari or
Guy Ferrari.
Ferrari.
And the awesome dude, the one that killed himself. I can't think of his name.
Oh,
yes.
That guy. Yeah.
No. But stuff like that, I think, would be interesting, because who doesn't like food? Who doesn't want to go eat?
Yep.
Kid-friendly places, dog-friendly places, things like that.
Yep.
What'd you eat today? You eat anything good?
Actually, we went to, what was that this morning? That was 11th Ave. Is that what? I gotta look it up. I don't even have my phone.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, restaurant 11th Cafe or something like that, right?
It was really good.
Yeah.
And it was packed.
It was packed.
What time did we get there? And where was it?
That's off the west side of Yakima Avenue. So down on Yakima Avenue, just go all the way down, heading west. It'll be on your right hand side there.
And we both got, it was like an Eggs Benedict.
Eggs
It
Benedict.
was their take on Eggs Benedict. It was a little bit different. I didn't realize it looked, the first few ingredients, I was like, oh, that sounds so good. But then when it came, the only thing I wish it had, like, it didn't have any meat on it.
Yeah. And I think that is because they had like 2 different versions of their Eggs Benedict. And I think we both got the vegetarian version. No meat.
Yeah, and I'm not a vegetarian.
Yeah,
but I did get a big giant heaping side of bacon, so I was able to pile bacon on there and eat it with the bacon.
Yep, and even the veggie portion one that I thought it was pretty good actually. Yeah, I wish there was meat, but just for what it was without the meat, still tastes pretty good.
It was actually really good.
Yeah,
it was the food was good, the coffee was good, the service was good. It was just, it had a good buzz going on in there. And I imagine because like Florida, every day the weather is similar to how it is today. Today's a hot day.
It is very hot today.
And everyone's like, yeah, you should be used to this in Florida. But I tell people, but every building that I go in has central AC, so I can go in and immediately cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's like even this building where we're at, this building is phenomenal, by the way. I'm sure everybody watching right now probably knows where the Larson building is, right?
Oh, they have to know where the Larson building is. It's one of the oldest buildings in Yakima.
If you don't know where the Larson building is, go away.
Yeah, man. Right across from Kawitchi Canyon.
Yes, which is another amazing place.
Oh, yeah.
How do you say Kawitchi?
Kawitchi?
It's
just like a cow, itchy. Kawitchi.
Cow.
Your cow is itchy, man.
A perfect way to put my cow is itchy. That sounds perverted the way you say it.
So
and you can hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect, my friend.
Usually we have somebody that's sitting over there, but you can't see where over there is.
Over there.
But they're doing the buttons, but today we're doing it from the iPad.
Yep.
So what prompted you to start Talk Yakima? And I didn't even know when I reached out, because that's how I met you, was before I came here. I started looking for people that, had similar hobby interests.
Right.
So where did Talk Yakima come from?
So Talk Yakima, I actually started that podcast. It's been almost 8 years ago now. And I started Talk Yakima because I wanted to talk to the local community. I wanted to bring insights to the Yakima Valley, talk about interesting things and pull people together. And a lot of people weren't listening to the podcast too much back, 8 years ago or 9 years ago and stuff like that. So I wanted to bring the community and have some really cool stories. And then that's where I'm aiming at, to keep on continuing to do that, is let people know about the Yakima Valley, so that's where Talk Yakima comes from.
So you've got 2,000 members. How long does it take? Like, how many members do you know, like what the ratio is? Like how many members you get a day, a week?
2,450 and counting. But who's counting?
Not you, apparently. No. But how does it take? Does it take a while to come up to get those members? Because you said you've been doing it for 5 years, but you said you took a break.
Yeah, I took a hiatus for actually a few years, and did refocused on other things at that time, which is like my marketing agency business. And then now I want to go back to doing podcasting and bring it back and do it full swing like we're doing right now.
What do you think people's biggest fear is if you say, hey, do you want to come do a podcast? Or, because obviously this is not just a podcast. This video is set up for video podcasting.
Yeah.
What do you think people are most fearful of into committing, aside from like, how much does it cost?
Yeah. Cost aside, I think a lot of people's fear when it comes to podcast is, am I going to be good? What's my voice going to be? Is it going to be natural? Same with a video. A lot of people aren't comfortable with the video and saying, I'm not going to look good. Am I going to mess things up? And it's just uncomfortable in people listening to them. But, once you get into this, from my experience, once you start doing it and you practice a few times, it just gets second nature and easier. I understand a lot of times, the first time on camera, people don't want to do it. They're uncomfortable.
Right.
It's a natural, I think, feeling because you're in the spotlight, as they say. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like I was born for the spotlight.
Me too.
I am the most egotistical, condescending. Like I wear it like a badge of honor. I love to be on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a fool of myself. It doesn't really matter. That's like the ongoing joke in Melbourne, Florida. They're like, Dan's been threatened, so he hauled ass to Yakima.
That's hilarious. I love that story.
Because that's the question I get from everybody is, you left Florida to go to Yakima,
Right.
but reality is it's beautiful here. You
Mhm.
got these amazing mountains and the price is right. Now I know if you're from here and you've grew up here and you've been homesteaded here, the prices might seem high for those people. And they're probably,
Right.
they probably hate them when people are coming here from the out of towners are coming in and boosting up the prices. But I mean, this beautiful building we're in, it's $850 a month we've got a decent size.
We got a decent sized place.
We got
and it's a beautiful building. Security, it's old. I mean, it has a story to tell. We're going to get it one of these.
We're going to get the ghost story.
We're going to get the ghost story one. But yeah, I mean for when you're talking about like leasing and renting, everything's going up around here. Then the housing market's going up. The prices of housing, if you want to sell your house, you got to think what you have to do to replace that house.
Right.
So, but like I'm sure, like you were saying, compared to Florida, a place like this, what, $4 or $5 a month?
Oh, easy. The office I had in Florida, it was a nice office. It was just a little bit bigger than this one, but it was not in a nice area. It was a very it looked like it used to be maybe in a small apartment building because it had it had 3 little suites in it. It was just 3 little suite office right next door to, and no offense to the homeless or anybody going through any mental health struggles, but it was right next door to a soup kitchen. So it would get kind of sketchy and shady to where if you're a female going through that area, you wouldn't want to be there by yourself at night kind of place. And that was $3,500 a month for that. And that didn't include electric or anything. Here in the Larson building, we're on the 9th floor. I got an awesome view out these windows, which we'll get a late night podcast going here. We'll have a couple of the extra cameras pointed out the windows. So
for sure.
Kind of check out the view.
It'd be cool.
But and electric and water is included here, which that in itself is night and day. Anybody watching right now, whether I'm only monitoring the Facebook group on Talk Yakima, but anybody that's watching that's in the Facebook group, are you all from Yakima? What are some pros and cons of Yakima? And what do you think about foreigners coming in? When I say foreigners, I don't mean like, I mean like foreigners, like Floridians. What do you think about Floridians coming to Yakima? What's your take on that?
Mine personally, or
yours personally?
Well, my personally thing, man. I'm born and raised in Yakima. I've lived in a couple other places in the past, but Seattle. I lived in Texas for about a year. I love Yakima because we're, like they say, we're essential to everywhere. So not only is our surrounding area beautiful, it's easy to get somewhere. If you want to go to Seattle, you're only an hour and a half. Portland, or 2 hours, I guess, depends on how you want to drive. But Portland, you're only 3 hours. You get to the ocean seaside, 5 hours. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do. Mountains is literally 30 to 40 minutes away for a good spot in the hills. We have fishing all around us. We have wine country. I mean, we have beer. We have all the food, like you were just mentioning. Some of the athletics here, even for the schools, are state after state. A lot of good sports and competitions are brought here. So, I mean, it's a good community. I mean, like every other one, it has its pros and cons.
Yeah, that's what you're just saying. We had to go walk. I have I'm so sensitive to anything acidic. Yeah. So before we did the podcast, Tony had to hold my hand and walk me over to what do they call it?
AM PM.
AM PM.
And people here who live here know exactly on the Yakima Ave next to the YMCA. They know that neighborhood.
And want to give a shout out to Damian Erickson. He's got that's the first comment ever in the new. Damian, you should take a screenshot because when we're big and famous, you're gonna be like, I was the first one to comment on Wise Media Group and Tony's podcast studio.
Yeah.
And so I originally lived in South Florida, Palm Beach County, like about 20 minutes outside of Miami. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I grew up. And I moved to Melbourne a little over a year ago, just to I was trying to get away from the high, because you think Melbourne's expensive. Forget about it. Like Palm Beach County it's almost nuts. And anybody that knows Palm Beach County knows what I'm talking about. So when I got to Melbourne, they were pretty upset. They're like, oh, all the South Floridians are moving in here and driving our prices up. And honestly, that's just kind of how stuff works.
Yeah.
You got to go somewhere. A lot of New Yorkers, I was saying the same thing right around when COVID hit, when I lived in Palm Beach County. A lot of New Yorkers, because they were so sick and tired of the ban on being able to like not go anywhere from the COVID restrictions. Florida with Ron DeSantis is like a wide open state. They were like, "Oh, we're not shutting down anything."
Right.
You know, the funniest thing they did there for the shutting down of COVID, they did do a light shutdown initially, but then they immediately opened up restaurants. And I remember sitting in these restaurants because you had to wear a mask until you sat down. But once you sat down at the table, you could take the mask off.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but when you go to the bathroom, you got to put the mask on and walk by.
Yeah.
And it didn't rationally make sense to me.
And it
So
doesn't.
it's like, I guess once you drop below 4 foot in the air, COVID is not resistant to 4 foot or higher or lower air conditions. But yeah, people got really upset in Melbourne because all the South Floridians were moving that way. So I can understand if you've been here a long time and you're on some sort of a fixed income. Seeing what prices are doing, it makes it hard for people to move.
Yeah.
Car prices have gone up. I mean, everything. Milk, eggs. I don't know here, but eggs has gotten ridiculous in Florida.
Oh yeah, they're really crazy here as well. My daughter even they went and bought some chickens, so they have like 10 or 12 chickens that they're not to the egg laying situation yet, but they're getting there. But that's why they bought them.
Never here in Florida, we went and bought some chickens.
Oh man, dude, they're like drug smuggling these chicken eggs over here. People are
chicken in your pocket.
Yeah, you know, you get pulled over, you know. But anyway, yeah, I mean it's true. Everything's getting crazy around here. But you have people coming in, like back to your question, a lot of people I think were getting mad, or at least they say, because we have people from the west side coming over, driving up prices because they're buying up real estate here, buying up homes and all that other stuff. So they are getting, you know, inflation's going a little high, but you know, for the most part, I mean, that's in areas that are more expensive to live to begin with.
Right.
Because real estate is running out. Because like I said, one thing you need to buy is land and develop that. We have some developers here locally that were helping the local community up by building more multi-living facilities, you know, 350 plus units. So that's going to help as well.
Do you know what the WeWork office buildings? You ever heard of WeWork?
Is that where you rent office space? And
it's like, yeah, community office space.
Yeah.
Actually, they did a whole, like, I think a Netflix or a series about the WeWork guy with Jared Leto plays it's really a good show. But we've got a lot of WeWorks in South Florida, and I can't think of his name. Well, a whole nother story in case people are interested. We got a whole nother prison story to talk about.
There we go.
That'll be our first episode. What brought Dan to Yakima?
There we go.
So yeah, prison might be in the cards a little bit. But there's a guy I met in prison. I never did drop the soap, none of that crazy stuff in prison. But there's a guy I met in prison he was a big real estate investor and just building real estate like left and right. And that's ultimately what he ended up getting in trouble for. But he turned his life around. And he's doing really good now. And he started creating kind of like how they have the WeWorks for entrepreneurs and business owners. They created the same concept for people that need budget living, kind of because not everybody can go out and get a tiny house.
Right.
There's not enough land for everybody to get a tiny house. So he took like apartment buildings, and one apartment, they're coding it to where like 6 people, it's basically like room shares where you share like the community area, the kitchen, but everybody's it's insane.
Yeah, it's a community.
But it's what it's getting to, because it's just become way too expensive. If you look at the homeless situation, the rise on the homeless, the rise on mental health, the rise on suicide, the rise on alcohol, and with all of the shutdowns that they had, it didn't just affect the mental state of like, I think about all of the domestic abuse. You've got some of these women that were just getting the piss beat out of them, and now they're stuck at home. They couldn't leave. It's like they're stuck at home with a significant other. So mental health and domestic violence, it's all gone through the roof, and the income with the inflation of how expensive things have got over the last 2 years. Yeah, income has gone up a little, but it's not matching the rise
inflation.
On, it's just
not at all. Yeah, there's that's one thing we always notice, is like when, even downtown here and everywhere else, you drive around, you see a lot of homeless, and then homeless issues. People keep on here in the Yakima Valley. We keep on trying to address it and giving them places to stay. They try to, there's a lot of words. I don't even remember what the names of the places were that they were staying at. But It's not working. You know, they just, and the mental health is the big issue too.
Homeless is
Oh,
off the grid.
huge.
So Damien just commented again. He said, his last comment says, "I would love to come on the show sometime." So
Oh,
yeah, it'd be fun to
there we
bring in the guests from people that are supporting your Facebook group.
Yeah,
You know,
that'd be really cool.
but he also said it's politics that bring from the West Side that stink. You should talk about how we've been exploring splitting the state to disassociate from the West Side at some point.
Yeah.
You might know more about that than
Mhm.
I do, because like I don't know what he means by the. I'm assuming the West
split.
Side of Washington,
Correct.
or Yakima.
No, Washington State.
Okay.
So they're just talking about making Eastern Washington and Western Washington just splitting right down the Rockies and making it its own entity,
Like its own
so
state.
its own government. Yeah,
Okay.
only government, right? Because you have more Democratic views and more pull on the west side, and more Republican pull on the right side. But the thing is they have more voters on the west side, so more Democratic votes go over there than it is over here.
So I'm assuming Washington, in the end, in the final count, it ended up in a Democratic count.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it always does.
Right.
The swing is it always swings to D.
Swings.
So
I think I saw that in a porno once.
Oh, that hurt. But yeah, but you know, honestly, yeah. I mean, it's just a lot of the votes that we do over here, we try to get passed or debunked from the west side. You know, with their ideology of being just craziness. It doesn't matter. You know, our governor Inslee. You know, he's from. If you turn around, I know you're not from here, but just on the backside, there's a little town called Sela.
Oh,
that's
Sela.
where
I've been to Sela.
Okay, that's where he's from.
Who, the governor?
Yes.
What's the governor's name? Inslee.
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 Yes.
Okay.
And
are you a fan?
No.
Okay.
No.
So we know where you stand.
If everybody wants to know where I stand, you know, I love everybody all the same, but you know, I'm a Republican.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm the big R.
Tony's Facebook group just went from
2,500 it went to 5. Probably it went to like 5.
You know, and it really is a shame that people are so quick to judge your entire character. It didn't used to be like that. You know, there's always been right side and left side. Correct. But now it's become to the point where if you're on the right, you're racist. If you're on the left, you think everybody should be transgender. It's like there's no in the middle. I have a lot of views that are I have Republican views, and I also have Democratic views, but my overall, for me, it seems to be like what's better for everybody just happens to be a Republican view at this moment.
Right.
It's not, you know, and again, people look at politics like they look at sports. Like, are you a sports fan at all?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite team?
Well, I mean, if we go Seahawks,
okay,
I mean,
Seahawks.
yeah.
So you're a Seahawks fan,
right?
It doesn't matter win or lose. You're a Seahawks fan,
correct?
But we shouldn't be picking our political views the same way based on a feeling. Like, I've always been Democrat, I've always been Republican.
Yeah,
I was Democrat my entire life. I didn't vote for Trump the first time. Second go round, I saw the change that happened, and I switched my political view at that point. And people were like, "You're a flip flopper. You can't make up your mind." I was like, "Things change."
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
In my opinion, coming from having some background in the prison system, and I went to federal prison for 42 months. And there's a lot of people in prison that, look, I'm not going to say they didn't do things to get themselves in trouble, but we lock people up too easily for too many things. You've got people in prison doing life for pot, for marijuana, you know.
Oh yeah, man.
So President Trump, he did more for when they started bringing people home from prison, when they started doing I don't know why the word just eluded my mind, but when they were pardoning people, yeah. Trump did more than any Democratic president's ever done on releasing people from prison. And it wasn't just the rich, white, powerful people. It was everybody, from
everyday
rich
Joe
people to the poor people, white, yellow, brown, yellow, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm very much involved in prison politics and in prison reform, but I'm also very involved in if you fuck up, you got to pay a price. Like, I deserved to go to prison. I worked for a doctor that was overprescribing pain medication. Even though I wasn't the one writing the scripts, I chose to turn a blind eye. And ultimately, looking back, you know, I played a role in contributing to opioids being put out onto the street. And who knows how many families got hurt by that, or how many kids took the pill, or how many parents OD'd, and
the trickle effect.
The trickle effect.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, so I look at it like that. But I'm still a Republican, even though, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's so hard to explain to people. You saw what happened the other night. Well, that person freaked out.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was having a good time talking. And it's like,
yeah,
you know, how'd you like the governor in Florida? Oh, he was great. Oh,
I think there's an extreme on both sides. Everybody has their own extremes and their own agendas and their own upbringing, their own belief factors. And then a lot of outside influence pushes them that way too.
That's exactly what Damien just said. He said he said, fuck politics. They mostly separate us. The country needs an enema. Amen, Damien.
You know, it does need an enema. You know, who was that? Was that Prince? Purple Rain? This town needs an enema.
I'm not that old.
Oh, I'm sorry, I am. But yeah, it's like this town needs an enema. But no, it's right. There is a lot of, you know, good and bad on both sides. I just think, I think we just need, I mean, you got this stuff going on with the feds right now, FBI, you know, you got so much. This country is at, I think, a pivotal point. You know, I don't want to go off the bandwagon today, but it's off of, you know, this, I think more people just need to get together and just fix what's broken.
It's social media, everything I see on social media. And because we live in it's a two-party state, so almost every political campaign ad you see when it comes closer and closer to getting closer to election, you're never going to see right or left. It's not like Trump or DeSantis is going to make a commercial about how good of a job they're going to do. They're going to make commercials about how bad the opponent is.
Yeah,
and they dig up all that used to be illegal. I don't know if you know that. People used to go to prison for that. There's a term where you weren't allowed to slander and bash other people for
should be still like
it
that,
should
man.
be, because then the focus would be on why should I vote for you? You know, when somebody says, well, I voted for him because I hated the other guy that much, you know, you're basing your vote because you hate the other person so much, you're voting for something that's,
well, just like the last election. Let's just face it, most of the people reason Yuha, whatever dip shit won is, I think a lot of people just hated Trump so bad,
right,
that they didn't care who was running against him, what his beliefs were, or anything. I think that people just hated Trump. They didn't care who got into the office. You know, Biden got in the office. They just cared that Trump wasn't there.
Yeah, it could have been a goldfish with a microphone.
It could have been. Yeah,
you know, and
I think it still is, but okay.
I do think Trump is somewhat of he doesn't have the best manners. He's definitely, what's it called? He's kind of a pig.
Yeah, for sure.
That's his personal, like, I'm sure every president behind the scenes has like some shit going on in their life that we probably wouldn't like, or we wouldn't
100%.
We wouldn't agree with
100%.
And Trump was very outspoken about his and didn't really give a shit either way what he said. I would rather have somebody, I'd rather get stabbed in the face than you stab me in the back. You know, Trump, you could see he probably should have more of a filter or somebody speaking for him a little bit more, not just out there. But for the country, for the overall better, for no matter where, it wasn't just the rich. Everybody thinks that the tax breaks are just for the rich. It really wasn't. If you were making more than $150,000 to $200,000 a year, which is almost kind of normal now in this day, like people, a lot of people are making very close to six figures. I mean, you can work
especially
here,
a double income.
Or in Yakima alone, because of where like even minimum wages, what is it here? 15, 16 bucks an hour?
15 something. Yeah.
And it's crazy because if you have, like, let's say you work at Applebee's, for an example, in Florida, if you work at Applebee's as a waiter, you're making like $4 or $5 an hour.
Yeah. Right to work state.
Right to work state.
Yeah.
Here, you're getting your minimum wage, plus you're getting your tips. I know bartenders, when I lived in Spokane for a minute, I know bartenders that were making $90,000 or $100,000 a year, where in Florida, they'd easily be making 40 or 50. So the income in this state gives good opportunity, which means people are going to be at a higher tax bracket.
Yep.
And they're going to be looking for those tax benefits. It's not just benefiting the now it does benefit the multimillionaires, but it also benefits the mom and pop shops that are struggling to stay open with their employees.
Yeah, inflation. You're gonna have inflation with everything too. You got your but you got your minimum wage here, and even if you just go over a state or whatever too, I guess, or whatever, Arizona, it's just a right to work state. I don't know all the right to work states in the country.
What is Idaho?
Idaho?
I know Idaho pays garbage from what people. I don't know.
It's probably a right to work state.
Okay, maybe.
And then I think because right to work state is your federal minimum wage,
right, which is low,
and then Washington State is one of the highest paying hourly in the country, but we also we don't have an income tax, right? But we taxes we get taxed for everything here.
I'm wondering, I don't know how it works here, but in Florida, as a convicted felon, a lot of states you can't vote in. Florida is one of the states where as long as you didn't have any, as long as you weren't paying any kind of restitution, you weren't on probation, and you give everything back, or not gave, I don't mean give back, but you're done with your whatever your situation
crown
was.
Right.
I was able to reinstate my voting rights. Not my gun rights, just my voting rights.
Right.
But I don't know how that plays here. I don't know if I can legally vote because I'm still registered in Florida. I guess I could always
that's something we'll have to research unless somebody on one of our.
Yeah. What do you got? Anybody watching the channel right now? Anybody know if a convicted felon that is no longer involved in the system, can they reinstate their voting rights, or is it like a gone process?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We all know guns aren't, but yeah, I'm not sure about the voting process.
No, the gun thing is crazy too, because obviously convicted felons can't purchase firearms.
Right.
However, in Florida, I don't know how the private sales of guns are here, but in Florida, if you've got a gun for sale and you advertise on Craigslist, hey, I've got this, whatever 9mm I want to sell.
Yeah,
I could come buy it from you, and you got to ask me if I'm a felon, but there's no background check required on private sales. Do you know that?
There's no background check on private sales here, as far as I know.
That's crazy.
But if you get caught with it, it's a totally different story.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're a criminal,
you
don't really care.
Yeah. A lot of people, that's a whole nother good topic too, with these gun rights going on, with everything changing from assault rifles and 21s and, the background checks and everything changing with people with that, that's a whole new story too, because, everybody's getting that way. Whatever happens, what you'll learn here in Washington State, whatever happens to California,
happens here
in Oregon, Inslee follows. He just follows exactly, because you go down to Portland, it's not like that here. Thank God, not yet, and at least not in Yakima. That's not going to. A lot of people don't like going to Seattle much anymore because of the way things are changing. But you go to Portland. My oldest daughter lives there and her family. But you go down there and all drugs are legalized pretty much. I mean, it's like you're going to Amsterdam. So you're not going to get pulled over. You have heroin. You have this, unless you have distribution size.
Is this like the free zones you're talking about, where you've got the free zones where you can go do crack and heroin in certain designated areas?
Yeah, in Portland.
Everywhere in Portland, or just like
I believe it's in certain areas, but still you're slinging. You can sit there with a needle on your arm, and officer walks by and nothing's going to happen.
I don't know how I don't know how I feel about it, but I guess if you try to stay objective on the situation, I can see it from both sides. I mean, obviously we don't want people out there doing heroin and overdosing.
Yeah.
But if they're going to do it and they're using, dirty needles and they're breaking in abandoned houses, giving a spot to, I know it's
centralize everything.
It's probably enabling to an extent, but you're also looking at something going, we can't stop it. Like, we can't stop the war on drugs.
No, you can't. And it'll always go.
So much money on it.
Oh, yeah.
I personally think marijuana, cocaine, mushrooms, I think they should be legal, because there are a lot of benefits to these drugs. Problem is you don't know what you're getting when you buy something off the street.
Right.
But if you were getting prescribed cocaine, I mean, Adderall is basically cocaine.
Yeah.
If it was getting prescribed properly, and you're going through a doctor and getting a prescription, and you're in some kind of a system, alcohol in many ways is far worse than a lot of these other drugs. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
when's the last time you heard about somebody going, "Oh man, this guy did a bump of cocaine and took out a family of 5"?
Yeah.
But you hear about it with
Alcohol.
people drinking too much.
Yep. Same with marijuana. Even, I mean, that's still, you shouldn't be driving. It's just like here, because it's drinking and driving.
Right.
It's a DUI.
Was it DUI and DWI? Right.
Yeah. Driving while intoxicated,
driving
under the influence. Yep. And I think I'm with you on a lot of drugs. I think it is, if you can do it at home or whatever, I mean, that's your business. But when you bring it out to the street or the schools, and that's just the problem is that there's no real walls. You're not, for a better say, you're not in a prison. You can do, if you do these zones where you're able to do drugs and zones where you're not,
right?
It's an invisible wall. There's no barrier really going to stop you from preventing from crossing that street. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's just a matter of time, or it already is, where it's just going to run in. It's just going to flood in, and it's going to ruin things. I think they still need to come up with something that's better than letting people openly.
Like when you talked about marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
So I told you I went to federal prison, and I wasn't gone. I got 42 months. I did a bunch of programming. I ended up only doing 13 months. But when I came home, I was on federal probation. So even though and I was living in Spokane at the time where weed was now legal, but I still couldn't smoke it because it's federally.
Yeah.
I went to federal prison. But I went to a poker game. I like to play Texas Hold'em, house games. And I walked in, my buddy Dallin invited me over, and I walk in and I'm like, I see this guy at the table. He's got a blowtorch. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Dallin. He's like, are they doing crack? And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, what? He's like, no, it's weed. I'm like, dude, I smoked a lot of weed in my day.
Yeah.
I've never needed a blowtorch.
Yeah.
He's like, no, those are dabs. I was like, what the fuck is a dab? Yeah. I will tell you, dabbing, from what I've seen, you will start see, if we haven't already, it seems like that's almost like overindulging in a bunch of edibles, then trying to go out and drive. Smoking a little bit of weed, you're probably going to be fine. But when you start doing these
dabs are horrible. Yeah.
Oh my God. I did it once I got off probation. I tried it once or twice, and it was such an intense high that I did it for maybe we would go on and off for, I don't know, a few weeks. We were trying it. Mm-hmm. Our tolerance was going through the roof. It's like I couldn't smoking a joint after that would do absolutely nothing for me. So we stopped dabbing years ago just because it was too much, too powerful. And it's like they're trying to put a turbo on everything. I'm like, look,
sure.
It's a Ford Escort. It doesn't need a turbo.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's just like they say, man, everything, or what's the old saying? It's a gateway drug, right?
Oh,
and that's the type of world we live in. If people don't want things, I mean, like social media, this chat GPT crap, AI.
They almost took over the world with that.
Yeah. People don't want to wait.
Right.
We want it now.
Immediate
fast food
gratification.
World. Everything is a fast food world, dude.
Well, that's why we've only got 2 people on here right now.
Yeah.
If this was a 6-second TikTok video, people watch left and right because we've developed the mind span of a goldfish, where by the time you circle back around to your starting point, you forgot. That's why ADHD is through the roof. All these medications that you need medication for this, medication for that. That's another save it for the prison stories. But I saw a lot of people come into prison that had diabetes. They were on all kinds of different types of medications. Mm-hmm. 6 months into their prison sentence, where they had no access to alcohol, they were eating healthier, they were walking the track. You started seeing people's body and their immune systems naturally healing itself. Yeah. It's getting away from, and honestly, I think that's part of the master plan, is keep us fat, keep us stupid, keep us focused on what the Kardashians are doing next. Instead of things that matter. Like, dude, we got fucking aliens that we've seen in the sky now. Like we've been shooting them down. We've admitted that they're there, and no one's talking about it. Like, nobody. Oh, we saw an alien.
Nobody.
What's for dinner?
And that's great news. I mean, when they opened up the books for Area 51, where everybody, the national security would lift for the Area 51 and all the alien, books and everything and all that, when everything was like, poof, this is like, nobody wants to talk about this. It's like, this is cool
And
stuff.
I wonder
it's like,
why.
I know.
There's still people
But-
out there going, yeah, aliens aren't real. They're fucking real.
Well,
And
they got to
what-
be.
And what an alien is, that's still
That's up to interpretation.
up. Well, I mean, that's up to. It's not. You can't even interpret it because we don't know.
No.
You know, or
Right.
maybe we do. Like
Yeah.
you and I don't, or maybe you do. Maybe you've been probed.
Yeah, I've been probed
You've
a
been
couple
probed
times.
a few
Yeah.
times. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the way.
I like Saturday nights. I like
Saturday
going
night
alien hunting up in the
probing.
mountains for Saturday night.
People tell me they see a lot of like aircraft stuff here in the area.
So Yakima, believe it or not, was one of the very first recorded sightings. I mean, recorded as in video or photo footage. I mean, if you want to really do into aliens, I mean, it looks like it was all the way back to Mayans and Egyptian time. But the real ones, and it was flown right over the Yakima airport between Mount Rainier over here in this area, where an airplane was up in the air and recorded its first unidentified flying object. So yeah, I mean, Yakima has been known for that. So I've heard over there's a fire tower
right
over on the reservation up here, where us white people can't go. But
is that true? White people can't go there?
It's true. You have to be
Like invited.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you gotta be. It's on the reservation portion where you have to be part of the tribe in order to go to.
There's a lot of native reservation around here, right?
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how we got our name, Yakima. I mean, yeah. There's a lot. So there's a lot of Native Americans here, indigenous people as they want to be recognized now, right? And anyhow, there's towers up there that show a lot of alien activity that you can go up there and check it out. But
I definitely, I would say I believe in that there's other life form, but I also wonder, like, because technology is advancing at such a rapid rate. I don't think it's impossible to think, and I know there's already been like some sort of proof of the ability to time travel, not
Right.
where like you hop in a machine and you're going to be in another state, but they've done it in small other testings of molecules and shit like that. So if we can imagine, like, let's say a million years from now, that time travel would be possible, that means there could be a future where time travel's already happened, and what we're seeing as aliens could really be
them.
Human race that went to another planet that had to be terraformed.
We evolved
into a different, we look different.
Yeah.
And it could just be us coming back to try to say, hey, you guys are fucking up your planet. You're gonna look like this if you're not careful.
And stop smoking. But no, okay. Now I'm a person and I believe in God, right? And all the other stuff. But I'm not so naive to say that you have all these stars and solar systems, galaxies, you have all this other stuff out there, that we're the only living intelligent thing. I say hell no.
It's such a egotistical stance to think that we're the only things that exist. Because when you, like what you just said, we're talking about, if you took like, this black tablecloth that everybody can see on the widescreen, and this little tiny speck right here, if you were to do a massive zoom in onto that speck and then another speck, I mean, the galaxy is so massive that we're a speck of dust on a speck of dust on a speck of dust.
Oh yeah. Infinite. I mean, nobody here in science can speculate, or how they say hypothesis.
Right.
They can speculate that there is an end, but who's to say there is? I mean, we can go on for that too. That's another good subject. But you have the technology out there. You have all these other people who's experienced certain things, whatever those are. The probe, as you say, it's all the way throughout history that people have discovered this alien. And I don't think, just look at us humans, just how we evolved. And now I'm not talking about caveman and ape and all that other stuff. Right. But I'm saying, as in technology, how we advance from the dark ages, from not the Stone Age, all the way up to metal and all industrial, and now what stage is next? Because us humans are getting faster. There's a lot more of us too, and now that barriers are being broken, such as in language. I'm not sure if you know the Tower of Babel. So Tower, biblical thing.
That's where people say stop babbling.
Stop babbling, because the tower, it wasn't even invented because everybody with different languages built this tower. Everybody spoke the same language according to that, right? And then they were building this tower to try to get to God. God came down, destroyed it, and made everybody else speak a different language now, so nobody can communicate to build. But now look at things. Come on, now you're gonna have that AI who is going to take your language, and you're going to have an earbud.
Yeah, it already exists.
It already there, where it instantly translates whatever they're saying into your language, and you guys can wear the same thing, and you know what they're saying. Let's break the barrier.
What do you think, Elon Musk? Do you think Elon Musk either is potentially an alien or he's been contacted direct? Because the technology that he pushed forward, I mean, just look at the advancement in rockets alone. We went from space shuttles that we'd spend fortunes on building and we'd lose half of it to bringing these things, just launching it and re-bringing it back and landing it in one spot. His technology is so advanced where I bet in another 10 years from now, internet is just going to be a Starlink system in the sky.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is probably going to not be a bad thing. But how much space junk are we creating? How much space debris? Because all these satellites go up and then they collide, they stop working, and they're just
in space. I mean, you have literally some of the first satellites ever launched on this planet Earth still floating out there.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you have freaking Model A's up there, versus like our Teslas, as you're saying,
right?
So you have different technology and all this other stuff just floating up there.
People hate Teslas for some reason. I mean, not everybody, obviously.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that like them. There's a following.
I like them. Everyone's like, oh, the wait, you have to replace the battery. But I don't think it's common. I don't think it's
right.
Yeah.
Well, no.
It's only going to get better.
Yeah. Well, we're human. We have to advance.
Right.
We have to come up with this. Like the push for hybrid technology is not there yet. The infrastructure and all that stuff. But for those select people who just choose to decide, hey, I want an electric car, go for it. But to force it down like our governor's trying to do.
Is your governor trying to push on it?
Yes.
Like force it?
Oh yeah. So,
everything electric?
Yep. Yep. So everything is electric is what he's going to. But there's just no infrastructure there. There's nothing there. But Elon Musk, back to your question, is Elon Musk an alien, or what?
Or at least in like been given some like, hey, we're going to give this book of power to you. And
hell, man, he could have made a deal with the devil, as far as I know.
There you go.
You know what I mean? But all I gotta say, as a man and things I've read and things I've seen, he seems like a good guy, good character. He doesn't seem like he make the deal with the devil. But I'm just saying, I think he's just a genius, for the most part. And
I think he's really good
gifted
at he was kind of like Bill Gates, where he's not the smartest guy, but he knows to put people in a room
and make it
say,
fun.
This is the task. It said it can't be done.
Go for
$1 million grant who figures it out.
Yeah.
And you get somebody that's they did that with those, Bill Gates did that with water filtration systems to put them in poverty stricken countries and all and landlocks and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they developed these systems. It's just insane to think, like, it's almost like we're the Truman Show. It's the flat earthers and all of this stuff. I'm very much into anything that's going to cause
commotion,
havoc.
Make you think,
make you think a little bit,
get uneasy, as they say, unnerved.
Being uncomfortable is probably the best thing you can intentionally putting yourself in uncomfortable situations really starts to teach you how to be more comfortable with because not everything goes smooth.
No.
Even today while we were setting up, we're like, fuck, this isn't working.
Where the hell is this, guys?
Yeah. They were still putting stuff together, and here we are doing a test video.
Yeah.
So what do you think do we want to interview somebody for the next one, or what do you think the next kind of conversation piece should be on?
This place is so fun, and this platform is so fun, but You know, there's so many things that we can do. I think we should go downtown. I think we should go right down, like you were saying earlier, your idea of going right down on the sidewalk and the concrete to start talking to some Yakamanians, you know,
Yakamanians.
Yakamanians, as I try to call my tribe anyway. You know, Yakamanians, you know, get them going and just bring some topics. Let's find out what they Q&A. What do you like about Yakima? What you don't like about Yakima? Like you said.
Well, Mr. Facebook Administrator, why don't you create maybe we can get a poll going of what people want to talk about. Maybe we'll do a little giveaway. We'll create like a $25 gift card. Come up with the best topic.
Yep.
We'll do a gift card. We had on our channel on Wise Media Group in Florida, we would have QR codes that would be put up through StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
We'd put a QR code that would randomly pop up on the screen.
Yep.
And the first person to scan the QR code, there would be a monetary prize associated to it.
Let's do that.
$25. It could be $500. We were giving PlayStations away. Kids, like during Christmas time, bikes for kids, clothes for.
I think we should do that. That's a great idea, and randomly just do it so nobody ever knows when it's going to pop up.
Correct.
So therefore, you got to be watching it. Not only listening, you got to be watching that.
Yeah, you got to watch.
You got to watch. And then, you know, I was doing there for a while. I was doing Friday night open mic and doing games, and I went down to businesses. We just plug their business and then give away a prize. So yeah, I think we should start doing that.
Yeah,
that sounds like a great idea.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're about an hour into this, so we should probably wrap this one up.
Sounds good.
Somebody's out there going, "Oh my God, are they ever going to stop
Shut
talking?"
up.
Yeah. You shut up.
Yeah, man.
All right,
This
Tony,
is what it's going to be like.
This was fun, man. I appreciate you. You kind of been my tour guide of Yakima. You know, we've been talking for a few weeks before I even got here.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, finally made it. So
yep. And then we're gonna make great things together here.
We are not babies, just great things.
Great things.
Great things.
Yeah. No babies.
All right, Tony. I appreciate you, but I'm gonna let you take
it
out because I got to hop over there to the other machine to turn us off. So leave us with something inspiring.
Oh my gosh, you just had put me on the spot. Something inspiring. Well, around here, it's just never give up, man. Dreams can happen, right? So you're going to keep on doing it. He's just letting me go on the mic. Anyhow, what I'd like to do too is while he's doing that and while he's going to end this broadcast, make sure to hit the like and hit the follow on our group. We need more people, man. We have almost 2,500 followers, and we want to get that as many as possible. Here, Yakima has over 100,000 population. We need to get to them. But
well, I'm over here. I'm ready to shut it down. If you're done mumbling over there, Tony. Tony, I had a blast, bro. Thank you, guys. We're out of here.
Peace.